Welcome back to Interview Ninja Step 30, which is about learning to listen. People will say to you, you should be a better listener all the time, but ask them what they mean, and there's very little that they have to tell you. So in this session, we're going to show you how to become an active listener. And we're introducing you to 3 techniques, all of which are very powerful. One is building. The second is the level of detail, from headlines to important stuff to maybe you need to know this, and level 4, which is you very probably don't need to know this. And then we are bringing in the concept of the rapport ladder, which we have touched on before.
A powerful and interesting part of that is what's called active listening. Now, in order to introduce active listening, I want to share with Corben an example of active listening. Now, there are several techniques of how a person listening to another person can participate in the conversation quite powerfully and work through a speaker who is an unconscious type of person and just speaks like normal people do and don't realize the impact they're having on the listener. So that's one thing, active listening. Now, the next thing is this TV program, what's it called again?
The Big Bang Theory.
The Big Bang Theory. Hugely popular. Obviously, it's a comedy thing. As Alexander will be explaining in his session he had with you, the essence of comedy is timing and the unexpected. So as well as a very good example of active listening, it's also a very good example of where the comedy is. All right. So just to introduce active listening, it can be in 2 or 3 forms. It can be with your body and your position. It can be with the gestures you move, obviously closely related. It can be with non-verbal, which is not actually using words, but using sound, like or or yeah, or what, And then it can be to do with using sounds and words. But a very powerful technique in active listening is called building. Now, if you take away anything from today, you need to understand building. All right? There are various keys to active listening, questioning.
Building was on that.
Building is really, really important.
It was on that sheet that we looked at, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I want to communicate with you with building. So the nature of building is the speaker says something, and what you do is not just reflect it, like, so you said you went to Spain last week? That would be reflecting. But building would be, so you say you went to Spain last week. How did you find the food? So you're building on the statement, and what you're showing to the speaker is you heard them, and you're now taking them in a new direction, but you're setting the direction, you're taking it down a path. So you're basically first steps in. So active listening can be very good at controlling the conversation. Now, what happens here, it's a demonstration, this video, of a range of active listening techniques followed by a close, the unexpected humorous close. So you have to admire the people who wrote this sketch, who are clearly very conscious competence in terms of behavior. Okay, so that's the introduction. What I'd like to do now is we will passively watch the whole thing, and then we'll switch it off, and then I'd like you to talk spontaneously to me about okay.
Video, and then I will get up the Big Bang Theory. So we are filming now.
Good.
First there was PlayStation, aka PS1. Then there's PS2, PS3, and now PS4. And that makes sense. You'd think after Xbox, there'd be Xbox 2. But no. Next came Xbox 360. And now, after 360, comes Xbox One. Why 1? Maybe that's how many seconds of thought they put into naming it.
Can you get the butter, please?
However, with the Xbox One, I can control my entire entertainment system using voice commands. Up until now, I've had to use Leonard.
Then get the other one. Pass the butter.
Dude, hang on. I don't feel like you're taking this dilemma seriously.
Fine, Sheldon. You have my undivided attention.
Okay, now, the PS4 is more angular and sleek looking.
No way!
It's true. But the larger size of the Xbox One may keep it from overheating.
You wouldn't want your gaming system to overheat?
No, you absolutely would not. And then furthermore, the Xbox One now comes with a Kinect included.
Included?
Yes.
Reflection.
Not sold separately. Although the PS4 uses cool new GDDR5 RAM, while the Xbox One is using the conventional DDR3 memory.
Why would they?
The camera slipped, but I've left the clip in rather than deleting it because this part is about what is said by the actors. Keep listening for the extreme levels of detail and the comedy kicker at the end. The lady takes the other guy up through the 5 steps of rapport building, which is acknowledgement, understanding, acceptance, respect, and finally trust. Although, of course, the trust is a false trust and is broken at the end with the comedy kicker.
Still be using DDR3? Are they nuts?
See, that's what I thought. But then they go and throw in an ES RAM buffer.
Oh, wait a second. Who's they?
The Xbox.
You're kidding!
No, I am not. And this ES RAM buffer should totally bridge the 100 gigabit per second bandwidth gap between the two RAM types.
This is a nightmare. How will you ever make a decision?
See, I don't know. What should I do?
Please pass the butter!
Okay, we're on now?
We're on now.
Excellent. So, what did you think?
I thought that I could understand what you were talking about active listening.
Mm-hmm.
She was fueling his conversation with answers that she knew, or questions that she knew he wanted to hear, even though she may not have any kind of knowledge about it whatsoever. She just knew to respond with information that he'd already given her.
So that's an important point, then, is that people may appear to be listening actively, but it's not authentic. They're humoring you.
Yeah.
And maybe they're going to take you down a path, and then they're going to play what's called a game in transactional analysis. Eric Byrne, the games people play. And it's a game called NIGOB, which is you lead someone on, and then you zap them. Okay?
Zap them.
Well, you hit them with
What
the
you
real reason and why you've taken them down that path.
So to make a sale or whatever.
Yeah. The NIGOB, excuse the words, but it stands for No, I've Got You, you bastard. Okay? So always look out for NIGOB, because there are people who play that game all the time. It's one of their ways. It's a way of a weaker person getting power. Not that everything I'm showing you is not adversarial. The world isn't against you, but you need to be able to spot people who use certain games to try and
achieve what they
or even that's their comfort zone. They must have a certain level of power. They may feel weak, and so they have these games. And NIGOB is a very common game amongst people who are nervous of being controlled, or bullies who will lead you up the garden path and then zap you. But, so it's false questioning, making you feel comfortable, and then whap.
And getting what they want.
Yeah. Now this is a very gentle version of it, but what she did there was display active listening, sucking out his level 3 and level 4 heavy detail stuff, and then bapping him to basically
get what she wanted.
Yes,
which was the butter.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's done in a kind of a friendly way. It's just coping with someone who's like that as a person. How do you live life comfortably with someone who dives down to level 3, level 4 all the time? And that's a lot of the humor in that. I always forget what the program's called.
The Big Bang Theory.
Okay, yeah. So a lot of the humour is the fact that they're geeky and the women generally are sensible.
Mm.
A bit of a stereotype casting, which I'm not in favour of. I don't think it actually has a really clever woman in it, which is perhaps not so good. But maybe
I've
it
never
does.
seen an episode, so I wouldn't be able to comment.
Fair enough. Well, there's a lot to learn from watching it. And I think what we're going to do today, the theme of this session, is look and learn. Look at life, look at TV, look at political programs, listen to the radio. So look and listen and learn. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So before we go on to the next step, so my lesson plan for this was watch past the butler, introduce active listening, and then the next thing we're going to do is have you watch the first 6 minutes of the session you did with Alex, bearing in mind style, pace, and active listening, and what type of person Alex is. I'd be interested for your feedback. And is he a level 1, which is highest principles, level 2, some detail that helps, and level 3, which is excessive detail, and level 4, which is Big Bang Theory. Clearly, that to make the humour, they took him right down into absolute stupid nerdy level of detail.
Level 4.
Yeah. So before we move on to you watching the first 6 minutes of your session with Alex, I will be asking you to do an intro to camera and recapping a bit on how you feel what we've been doing over the last few weeks has been helping you. What's new in your experience, the areas, very briefly, the areas where you feel you've started to use what types of techniques. Keep it short, and also interpersonally, do you feel you're understanding people generally better? And finally, one of your big paths you want to go down is you want to be better at interviewing, you want more fluency, and you want more self-confidence. Those are the things we started with.
I think interviewing is a good place to hone it. But I think in reality, when I say I want to be better at interviewing, that's like me saying I want to be better just at effectively communicating with people and making them like what I have to say.
Okay.
So it's probably a broader,
I like it.
place where I'd like to take it to outside of interviewing, just in personal interactions. And
yes. Okay. So an immediate focus with interviewing, but as a subset of living a better life, I would say. I'd liken it right up to being empowered.
Yes. And I suppose that's the whole reason that we're here and anyone's watching this. So
that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You're going, your stage in life, you're going into a very complex world, and I've talked before on camera to you about it's multinational, multi-ethnic, multi-this, multi-that, and you're going to have to make your way in that life. You've decided not to kind of just go down that university type path where you learn a lot about a given subject, which again in this modern world is quite a dangerous thing to do, because there's not much point nowadays in learning a lot of knowledge, because the knowledge you need to know is changing so fast, especially in science. And there's massive competition of people in different countries, all trying to learn those particular skills. So social skills become very important to success, but also because of the pressures there are in the world, social skills are vital for a healthy mind and for survival. So there's an awful lot more depression and even suicides and so on amongst quite young people, because they lack the social skills. And there's a huge demand at the moment within health services for what's called talking therapy for people who've got OCD and so on, obsessive compulsive disorder and stuff like that. And what I'm trying to do is give you the appropriate self-talk awareness, so that the stuff that can destroy people will not only not destroy you,
empower
You'll be empowered by seeing all the dangers. It's like having a mine detector for life. So I can't tell you what to do with your life because I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows what the next 10 or 20 years is going to bring in terms of employment and where there's money and stuff like that. A later session, maybe session 7 or whatever, I will talk to you about value chain analysis and seeing where's the most likely place for you to have a good career. But that's for another session. So what we're going to do now is your intro of how you're feeling about it so far, what you're thinking and what you're feeling.
Active listening is a soft skill, and it takes time, just like learning to ride a bike. But both can be extremely enjoyable. The world around you is an opportunity to practice on your analysis, your critical analytical thinking, as you become aware more and more of how to think about what people are saying and how to think what you are going to say. This Interview Ninja course is going to give you all the tools necessary for you to become an expert.